Kansas Mr. Iowa, Junior Mr. America, Junior National Champion, USA Champion, and National Champion. Did I get those all right?
All right.
All right. And one thing that we're going to do is, once he gets started talking today, we are going to pass around some photos that we have of him, so you guys can take a look at those. But please make sure you pay attention to what he has to say. He was also a speaker at our Human Library event that we had earlier in the year. And for all of my students that wrote about that event, he was one of their favorite speakers that they talked to. So he has some very cool things to say. So give him your attention, and let's give him a warm welcome.
My name is Ketchens. I'm an IFBB professional bodybuilder, which is the International Federation of Bodybuilding, and I'm also a fitness trainer. I own a personal training business called RK Solid Fitness, which I operate out of Four Seasons Health Club. It was a long road to come to that, so this workshop here it's very suitable for what I went through to get to the final career where I am today as a professional bodybuilder and as a fitness trainer. I grew up in Waterloo, Iowa, played football, ran track and field. In high school, I had no idea what I really wanted to do in life. I just knew I wanted to get out of the house once I graduated. Didn't really have enough money to go to college, so initially, me and a buddy of mine enlisted in the Army. We went in under the buddy system, and we were only 17 years old at the time. So once we got our orders to go where we needed to go, I was supposed to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and Fort Lee, Virginia for basic training. Our buddy system broke up, and so they were actually going to send us two different places. At the time, I was being recruited by different colleges. No one had come through with a full ride for me. Like I said, financially, I couldn't afford to go to school without a full ride. So on the 24th hour, Morningside came out, and they offered me a full ride scholarship to run track and field and play football. And mentioning Morningside, and hopefully Mr. Poole doesn't hold that against me.
Only one.
So I accepted a scholarship to play football and run track and field, but I had a dilemma. I was in the Army, but being 17 years old and because of higher education, I was allowed to get out of the Army and then go to college instead. Once I got to college, I decided I was going to try out mass communication, which actually was kind of opposite of who I was. I was a great athlete on the field and on the track, but I was very quiet. So I decided the radio was the way to go for that. So I did a lot of speaking on the radio. I was on the college radio station, but people never really saw who I was at all. So all the speaking was behind closed doors always. Then I went into art, was my minor at the time. I loved that, but passion-wise, I enjoyed art. Mass communication wasn't really my thing. So the second year in college, I decided to switch my major to art, and I kept the minor as mass communication, and I continued through school that way. All I knew I wanted to do as far as school was, I wanted to be able to make a good career for myself and make money, and that's all I really wanted to do. So after college, I actually joined the sheriff's department. So I was in a whole different field altogether. One of the things that I was always good at was I was always good at switching things up and changing things and being driven enough to make myself the best at what I could be. So after 2 years at the sheriff's department, I was promoted to the rank of sergeant, which was the youngest sergeant they'd ever had in the Woodbury County Sheriff's Department. And I spent 13 years at the sheriff's department. I didn't really want that as my lifetime goal, is what I wanted to be in law enforcement, dealing with criminals all day long, and murderers, thieves, pedophiles. You know, that just wasn't the thing I really wanted to do. It was a very depressing job. And I got to a point where I just really had enough. And at the time, I was starting bodybuilding, doing that kind of thing, and I started doing the competing, and I won several national championships at the AAU level, which was the Amateur Athletic Union at the time, but it wasn't the biggest organization out there. The biggest organization was the MPC, and MPC goes on to the IFBB, like the Mr. Olympias and that type of thing. So during that time, I was actually working with athletes, doing some training on the side, but still carrying on my law enforcement career. Well, I decided after a few years that I was going to go ahead and take a step up, do the big show, compete with the MPC, and do my first national show. Well, I had won so many shows in the past with the AAU that I was going around and I was doing guest appearances different places, and but I had to go back and I had to re-qualify for the MPC, which meant I was competing against guys who had watched me on stage and see me just doing guest appearances. So I remember specifically my third Mr. Iowa. That's the third one and last one that I won. It's an amateur title. I went back to Des Moines, Iowa, and when I showed up, everybody was asking me if I was guest posing there. Well, I was actually competing there. There was a gentleman that I had helped out doing some training the year before that had placed second, so this was supposed to be his year to win the show. So when I showed up there, he was very upset with me because I was competing. So we're in a room about this size, and this guy is over there, and he's talking real loud. He's like, yeah, Rod, he needs to move on. He doesn't need to be here. And it's like, I'm just there because I have to re-qualify. Well, I got a little bit tired of hearing him say that, so I walk over to him and say, hey, Don, I said, good luck today. He says, oh, well, thanks, Rod. I said, you're going to need it. Which I did go on, and I won that show just to get my qualifier in. So 2 weeks later, I had to go to Baltimore, Maryland, do my first national show. At this time, I was really focusing on trying to learn the nutrition thing and really excelling at the sport. So I was coming in, I was dropping from 258 pounds in my off season. I come down to 191 for competition. So I had to be extremely focused when it came to the nutrition part of it, and of course going to the gym back and forth. So I did my first national show. It was a junior nationals. There was 240 some competitors at the show, and I got out there and I did my thing, and I didn't get a whole lot of call outs at all, so I thought, God, this really sucks, you know. It's my first time, and I didn't think I did that terribly at the competition. Well, turned out I actually had won the competition the whole show that night. Found that out because they just didn't really need to see me because I was just that much better than everybody else. So I put a whole lot of work into that. So my career was starting to take off in bodybuilding now. Now the next step was to do a pro qualifier. So I did the USA's, which when I first started competing, it's changed a lot now as far as the criteria goes for who turns pro. When I first started competing, you had to be #1 at your weight class, and you had to beat the overall class winner. So there's only 2 shows we had, and there was only 7 people out of the United States a year that would turn pro in bodybuilding. And it was very difficult to get that pro card. So if you play second, come back again. Not like any other sports like basketball, if you're second best in the nation, guard, point guard, or whatever, you're gonna be a professional basketball player. Football, you know, if you're one of the top 5 recruits, you're gonna be a professional football player. In bodybuilding, you had to be #1, and that was it. So it's very difficult to do. So the following year I came back, I won the USA championships, but I lost the overall. In the third year I came back again, decided just to do the nationals, and I won the nationals and got my pro card. Now there was a dilemma that I had, and here's where the passion comes in for me, is the gym burned down here in town. So every day I had to drive back and forth to Sioux Falls or Omaha where there was adequate equipment for me to train. And I did that every single day, preparing for competition for 4 months. And so I'd wake up, and I was still working for the sheriff's department at the time. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd drive to Omaha, I'd work out, I'd eat, I'd come back home, I'd go to work, I'd go to sleep, I'd wake up, do it all over again. And I did that for 4 months prior to the nationals. And I remember at the time being interviewed on ESPN for the competition, and they were asking me, you know, what kind of things I went through getting ready for this competition. And all I could think about was driving back and forth to the gym every day and staying focused and being on point for this to get ready for the competition. Which, now that I look back at it, you know, bodybuilding was, and becoming a pro bodybuilder was one of my goals after a while, but my actual career choice is fitness training. And with the sheriff's department and the amount of patience that I developed dealing with prisoners, and the number of hours that I put in training, and the patience that I developed getting ready for competition, has made me one of the best trainers in this area as far as helping people to reach their goals. You know, obviously, especially around this time of year, it's not easy for people to stay focused and stick with their New Year's resolutions. And a lot of trainers get very impatient with them. They just get frustrated. But I've learned that it takes time. The amount of patience that I have dealing with my different clientele, whether it's a football player, whether it's a bodybuilder, whether it's just somebody that's trying to lose weight, my patience is incredible. And so I don't give up very easily when it comes to helping people in the fitness industry. So I came that pathway, starting out, just wanting to possibly do mass communication, to going into art, which I never went into any of the fields that I actually went to school for as far as college. But I wound up utilizing everything that I learned along the way and everything that I do right now. The bodybuilding, once again, taught me so much patience, dealing with different dilemmas, different things that I have overcome just to get to where I am today. I had several injuries that kind of knocked me out a little bit, and I wasn't able to progress and become Mr. Olympia or anything like that. But I'm still competing, and I started competing 30 years ago. I'm still competitive, and I'm still placing at shows and trying to get a paycheck every time I go. I'm currently training right now for a show in Toronto, Canada. My body weight's probably about 245 right now. I'm kind of fluffy right now, so. But I'm going to compete at about 205, so I'm going to come down about 40 pounds and fly out to Toronto, Canada, and hopefully win about 10 grand, hopefully if I win, and then move on to the next show and possibly get an Olympia qualifier. So I'm still trying to progress in bodybuilding, although my passion and my actual job where I earn income is personal training. Along with that, the personal training came along, and I was just doing it a little bit here and there. And I have to tell you the story about when I left the sheriff's department. After 13 years, guaranteed paycheck, and my mom's disabled, so I have to take care of her as well as myself, as well as my family. So it was really kind of scary to want to leave and start something new and do something different. But what I did was, I was reading a book. It was by a guy named Judd Biasato. It was called In Search of Happiness and Self-Fulfillment. And I'm reading this book one day, and this book described me perfectly. Judd was he was a psychologist for athletes, made a lot of money for professional athletes, made a lot of money doing that, but he wasn't very happy doing it. So he would go to work every day, and he'd sit in his office, and he'd work with the athletes, but he just was not happy every day. He'd just go in and just kind of go through the motions. And then one day he decided he wanted to do what was his true passion, which was teaching. He loved to teach. A lot less money, but that was his passion. That's what he really wanted to do. So after deciding that, he decided, no more sitting in the office, no more dealing with the professional athletes, the stress of that. He wanted to go back and do what he really wanted to do, and he did that. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about myself at the time, because I would go in the office, I put my roster together for where I wanted all the officers to be. I do the daily schedule as far as who was passing meds and doing all those types of things for the prisoners, and then I'd just sit there all day long, and I wouldn't do anything. I just had no motivation at all. I peaked out as far as it went, as far as my career as money went, salary-wise. I wasn't going to make any more money. I'd already peaked out after 2 years of being there as far as promotion, so I had no motivation to do anything different. So after reading that book, I took a leave of absence from the sheriff's department, and it was Thanksgiving time. And after reading the book, I called up the sheriff's department. I said, I'm done, I'm not coming back. I said, not even to hand in my uniform. So I left the sheriff's department that day, and I called the owner of the health club at Four Seasons, who I've been friends with for years, and told him what I wanted to do. I said, I want to bring in 6 other trainers. I want to start a program as far as a personal training program goes, and we're going to put in a variety of different programs as far as athletic training, kids training, whatever it might be. And so we're going to make this thing run. And since 1999, that's what I've been doing full time. And every day I wake up to go to work, it's never a job. It's always just enjoyable, and I get money to do it too. So, I was just blessed to be able to do something that is such a passion of mine, and I'm able to do it and not have to, and I get paid to do it as well. it's a job that I would actually do even if I didn't get paid, but it's better to get paid for it, obviously. So, that's my life.